And good evening. My name is Anna Rodolovsky. I'm co-founder and CEO at Women Tech Network and also author of Chief in Tech book. And I'm so excited to welcome you to the Chief in Tech book launch party. And I honestly can't believe this day is finally here. I want to start by thanking you for your support with the book, for being part of this incredible community, and for the Chief in Tech moment. As many of you already have commented in the chat. Hello from Delaware. Hello from Mumbai, New York City, Canada, Seattle, Virginia, Las Vegas, Nairobi, Kenya. Wow. Keep them going and please actively use the chat. I'm so excited to have you with us. Now, coming to the book, please let me know in the chat if you already read the book and if you are reading now, what is your favorite chapter or quote or anything that resonated with you? Now, for today, I'm going to start with a short overview of what to expect. And I'm going to share my screen just a moment. Okay, wonderful. So what to expect today? Here is the plan. We'll start with the backstory and the why behind the book, key moments of impact, panel discussion with incredible tech leaders. I just met them backstage and we had a quick chat. They are so excited about this event. And I will have also live Q&A with them and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And of course, networking part. Now, let me tell you a little backstory. I've always dreamed of being an author. The way I remember it really precisely, like totally since 2015. Back then, it felt like a far-fetched dream. And today, nearly a decade later, it's a reality. And honestly, I'm still pinching myself. Writing Chief in Tech wasn't easy. Editing and marketing it, that's a whole new level. It took 10 months, over 50 executive interviews, countless hours, and a lot of writing sessions squeezed between building and running Women Tech Networks, speaking at conferences, leading summits, mentoring, and well, life. And one of the hardest parts was putting my own voice on the pages. That's vulnerable, that's real. And adding the voices of 50 inspiring tech leaders. That was a great responsibility and one I didn't take lightly. So why did I decide to write the Chief in Tech book? And you can see on this visual, you can see from vision to reality. So that was the very first cover when Wiley, my publisher, even actually before that, they reached out to me. I had this cover as a vision, and that what came to reality. And it all started with conversations with people from the community. So all late night DMs, chats at meetups, hallway talks at conferences, powerful discussions during our summits. And there was a pattern. So many driven, talented, brilliant women in tech still feeling stuck, still hitting invisible ceilings, still wondering if they belonged. And that's when I realized this wasn't just an individual challenge, it wasn't one moment. And then when you look at leadership books, so many are written as if they don't include and discuss these invisible barriers. And I said to myself, we need something more than just one-time talk or a panel or an event. We need a blueprint, a storybook, a guide that says, here's what we learned, and here's how you can rise too. And that's the idea behind Chief in Tech. And I'm also grateful to the entire team of Wiley, my publisher, as well as my co-author and my partner in life, Ivo Radolovsky, who has been part of this journey, who is part of this journey at the core. This book also made possible thanks to all 50 women leaders who contributed to the book and shared their wisdom and insights with me so I could share it with you, and I'd like to give them a huge round of applause. And you will hear some of them today during the panel. And I'm so excited and I'm so grateful. To all of you who believed in this book before even it hit the shelves, thank you. Huge thanks for pre-ordering, for later ordering, for sharing about the book with your network. Because of you, Chief in Tech is already a #1 new release on Amazon across multiple categories. Thank you for sending me so many beautiful pictures, for all your thoughtful posts, for all the insightful reviews. I'm forever grateful. And every moment is like this surreal kind of experience I never thought of dreaming, and it always feels so special. So keep them coming, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for, I've been so touched by the feedback from so many of you, from so many early readers. It's really heartening to see what resonates with you the most. And if Chief in Tech inspired you, challenged you, or made you feel seen, I'd be incredibly grateful if you share a review. Not only does your voice help guide future leaders, but it also helps more women and allies discover the book. Because, yes, the algorithms notice. Your review can make the difference between this book being hidden somewhere or reaching the next woman who needs to hear you belong in tech. Whether it's a sentence or a story, every word counts. And don't think about making it perfect because it's about the raw, authentic you and the way you view the world, the way things resonate with you in the book. So please leave a review on Amazon, Goodreads, or wherever you ordered your copy. Thank you so much. And one of the latest highlights was being featured in the iconic Times Square. Chief in Tech and the 50 Chief in Tech leaders lit up a billboard during the New York Tech Week. And honestly, it felt surreal. And you can see it written all over my face, that excitement. So that was really special. And during my time in New York City, I also signed a few copies at Barnes and Noble stores, as well as some of the signed copies you can find available at Barnes and Noble across the Bay Area. So if you want to buy another copy, if you want to gift it to someone special, your mentee or your mentor as a present, you can absolutely do that. And if you spot a book, please do send a picture to me. It always feels exciting. So yeah, a few pictures from the, if you spot, so here's the first picture from the Fifth Avenue in New York City, and the second one, Union Square, and the last one is from Stanford. That was a really special moment. And now it's time for the excerpts reading by author. I'm so excited, and I'm going to read so many, just a few actually of the favorite moments of mine, because I think I poured my heart and soul into this book. And I'm going to now take the book, stop the slides, and going to read it to you. Okay, you can see me. Wonderful. So we will start with the preface, and it's one of my favorite parts. And here it is. Close your eyes for a minute and imagine the most prominent tech executives today. Who comes to mind? Is it the typical suspects, men whose names are now associated with innovation? Elon, Jeff, Mark? Yes, they established empires. But the real question, why not you? You've seen the headlines. AI is transforming industries, robots are performing surgeries, self driving cars are navigating our busy city streets. Technology is moving at a pace we've never seen before. But isn't it ironic that leadership often stays stuck in the past? Despite all this innovation, only a small fraction of leaders are women. I've seen the glaring disparities firsthand at conferences, in boardrooms, engineering teams, on panels, promotion rounds, and the list goes on. But here's the thing, you belong in that space. You should be the one of the leaders shaping the future of AI, robotics, and beyond. Too often, the decision makers in tech don't reflect the rich diversity of the world they're transforming, and that needs to change. The tech industry needs you, your perspective, your creativity, and your leadership. We need diverse voices driving innovation that actually reflects the world we live in. And here's another one. If you want to be following together with me, you can go to chapter 2, page 18. We will be reading on visibility, on aligning personal values with career decisions. I'll go to page 18 myself. You can also do that if you'd like. Aligning personal values with career decisions. Years ago, I reached a point where I had to ask myself, am I doing this because I'm good at it or because it's what I love? I'd been exploring various directions, taking on roles and projects that challenged me, but it wasn't until I aligned my work with my core values inclusion, empowerment, and impact that I found a deeper sense of fulfillment. My career shifted from being a checklist of milestones to a path that truly reflected who I am and the difference I want to make. Seeing the lack of representation and opportunities for women in tech and leadership, I felt a strong urge to take action, leading to creating Women Tech Network. Inclusion meant creating spaces where everyone, regardless of gender, could feel welcomed and valued. Empowerment was about providing the tools and support women needed to thrive in a male dominated field. Impact drove me to strive for meaningful change that would resonate beyond individual careers and influence the industry as a whole. Moving forward with visibility from chapter 3, we are going to read on building and growing your personal network, page 40. So recently one of you, I don't know if you're here today, Elizabeth, shared with me that this resonated with her a lot. And I love that because it always matters your perspective. So I chose it as one of the things to read today to you. Myth. Your work speaks for itself. Reality. You need to speak about your work. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely believe in the power of hard work and its potential to yield rewards. However, as workplaces become more competitive and fast paced, hard work alone is no longer sufficient. If your work is behind the scenes and your contributions aren't recognized, you are on the fast track of being overlooked, particularly in companies where transparency around promotions and recognition is lacking. Think about your career as an investor diversifying their portfolio. Just as an investor seeks to maximize return by spreading investments across various assets, you should aim to maximize your professional impact by ensuring that people across different departments are aware of your contributions and the impactful work you are doing. This requires a shift in mindset from focusing solely on doing great work to also ensuring that your work is seen, appreciated, and recognized by the right people within your organization. Adopting this mindset means being strategic about where and how you share your achievements. Moving forward, negotiations, chapter 7, negotiating powerfully for your worth. What does it really mean to know your worth? And we're moving to page 140. So, what does it really mean to know your worth? Simply put, it's a mindset. It's a belief that just being who you are inherently entitled to all the great opportunities life has to offer. It's about navigating life with confidence, knowing deep down that you deserve good things. Your worth is your birthright. You deserve every opportunity and great things in life. It's not only about earning them through hard work and sacrifice, it's about realizing that you're already entitled to them. Now, don't get me wrong, this mindset doesn't replace the need for hard work, skillfully negotiate, advocate for yourself, and deliver results. It's the foundation that keeps you moving forward with confidence. A healthy entitlement gives you a strength to take bold risks, pursue new opportunities, and to trust that you deserve success. And the last excerpts for today, page 182, and it's called the last chapter, one of my favorite chapters. Tech needs more leaders like you. There are moments when workplace feels overwhelmingly unfair. Times when it seems like no matter how hard you push, how much you achieve, you're met with resistance, or worse, indifference. You may find yourself questioning everything, your decisions, your past, or even your place in tech. But let me tell you, you absolutely belong here. In fact, we need you more than ever. The tech world is calling out for leaders like you, leaders who aren't afraid to drive change, make an impact, and build a future where everyone belongs. Especially in the times when technologies like generative AI are rapidly evolving, your voice is incredibly important. Tech needs leaders like you, leaders who will challenge the status quo, create sustainable change, and ensure that innovations we build work for everyone, not just a selected few. I'm going to skip a few pages to some part that I want to touch because this segment is really big. And yes, the path is hard. Yes, the barriers are real, but we need you, your vision, your grit, your commitment to positive impact, and your courage. The future of tech isn't just about the latest device or the coolest app. It's about who is sitting at the table when important decisions are made. It's about making sure that the tech we build is reflective of the diverse world we live in, that it serves everyone, and that it contributes to a more peaceful and harmonious society. And if I could leave you just with one thought today, and if you're on the track to become a chief in tech one day, and I talk about it a lot from different perspectives, but here's the thing that I want to share, that we need more female CTOs, CIOs, CPOs, CMOs, CEOs, CDOs. Invent your own C-level title, lead in major tech companies and high growth startups, women who will influence the direction of technologies at its core. We need women like you to start companies, bring innovation to life, and create work environments where diversity isn't just a checkbox, but a core value. And I probably could talk forever, and we are going to have more events with also leaders featured in the book. But today I'd like us to go to the panel because we have this incredible guests waiting backstage. And also let me know which part of the book resonated with you personally. If you want, share in the chat or send a screen to me on LinkedIn or via email. I'd love to hear from you. Now, moving forward, we are going with an incredible panel, special guest. We're going to talk about women breaking the silicon ceiling and making an impact. We'll touch topics like leadership, resilience, redefining success, and more. It's going to be an honest, energizing, and full of wisdom that you can take with you. Now, we have incredible leaders, and I'm just going to share for a moment. So we have Deborah Corvin Scott, former CEO at Harvard Medical School; Elaine Muntia, founder of 5x Minority, former CTO at Pearson; Grace Perez, former Chief Digital Program Officer, GE Healthcare; Janet Robertson, Global CIO at RS Group PLC; Catherine Guarini, senior fellow at Yale University, director Regeneron, former CEO at IBM; and Rital Pei, EVP and CEO at Taiheart. And I'm very thrilled to have them all with us today. And I'm going to just take a moment to bring them on the screen. Maybe I'll repeat the question to share what we are talking about. Is from your experience, what is the most critical shift organizations and individuals should take today to truly break the ceiling, the invisible barriers, the silicon ceiling, the invisible barriers that hold women in tech, especially in the leadership? Rital.
Hey everyone, I'm Rital Pai. As Anna mentioned, I'm the CIO at Taiheart. We are a 137-year-old construction and mining company. And Grace alluded to this, right? So I didn't grow up in the construction industry. I actually grew up in a material science and agriculture industry. So sometimes you've got to take a leap of faith. So as an individual, being able to take risks, and you don't do it alone. I loved what you said, Anna, about knowing your worth. And it's not, like you said, an entitled I deserve, but very much when I show up fully present, I can. And that you do with community. So I really appreciate that. And from an organization perspective, I try to remind myself it's easy as a leader to go, look, I know what it is like to be a woman, an Indian woman, and so I must understand everybody's experience in life. And the reality is I don't, right? And so I try to also remain open-minded to what are other people experiencing that I might not see, and how can I ask them what is the best thing to do for them to nurture their talent. And kind of work it that way on an individual one-on-one basis as well. Because very often we forget to ask people what they want. We just assume we know, and that's the worst mistake. People have made that mistake on my behalf. People have told me what I think I should want, and you know how these things go. So I think as leaders, the best thing is to go to the humans and say, what do you want? How can I best nurture you?
I really love that. Thank you so much, Rital. Catherine.
Yeah, well, I will echo what everyone has said. And I will add that I think we also need to recognize that the challenge starts even before many people, including women, are entering the workforce, and that there's a role that we play and a gap that exists in the population, the younger population, through school, through K through 12, in college, in graduate programs. And we need to do more outreach and support women and everyone who is envisioning their future and get them excited about the opportunities that they can have in tech, right? The opportunities that we've all had a chance to take advantage of, to drive innovation, to build new products and technology, to lead teams, to have tremendous impact. It's exciting and it's impactful and it's rewarding. And many people have chosen to opt out before they've even experienced or had an opportunity to explore that. So that's something I'm doing in my post-corporate career, is doing more work with students and at universities who think that there's a real need to get young people excited about the opportunity, so that they can even have that foot in the door to participate at the leadership level.
Totally agree. That's a really great point. And I think having a panel like this is also, and having people who are present with us today, and also through the work in the book, my hope is also to inspire the next generation, because they are looking for role models, right? And it's the current leaders that are role models, you and so many leaders who also featured in the book and beyond in the community, who say, hey, I want to be one day like her. And then again, it's you can see also different paths. Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah Scott, and I am so happy to be here. And thank you, Anna, for writing the book and including me in some of your quotes in the book. I really had thought I should write a book someday, and then I didn't have time, and then Anna did it. And so I'm
You still should. You still should. We discussed that with you. I think you should.
Anyway, I think that the big shift that companies need to make is to recognize that the best person for a job may not be the one that fits the normal profile of the history of the organization. And I think the way that we do this as women is we get inside of the organizations and we promote that culture ourselves and impact the culture where we are, build networks with other people who are doing the same. And a group like this is a powerful group for influencing and changing companies from the inside. And especially if you can get a woman at the top who's leading in a C-suite or even as the president, they can influence the culture from the top down. And I worked hard to make sure I gave everyone opportunity, everyone training and support. And the result was that usually about half of the people who got promotions and advancement were the women. And I actually got an award at Harvard Medical School for the Dean's Award for the Advancement of Women's Staff. And one of my staff members said, you have done so much to change. And I said, all I did was give everybody opportunity. And this was the key. She said, but before you came, the only people who got the promotions were the men. And since you've been here, it's about 50-50. So changing that culture from the default is it goes to the expected candidate. It could be someone who is from a very different, diverse environment, who's willing to put in the work, who has the expertise, who's going to show up and make a difference for the organization. That's who you want to support, not the person who just looks like they're the profile. And I always strove myself to be that person who is going to have the drive and the vision to take the organization forward. And at every level, that's important. It's important as an individual contributor. It's important as a middle manager. And it's really important as a C-suite leader to lead by that example and to bring up the people in the team and support their growth to be that change.
I really love that. And congrats on the impact that you have made. And every one of you, I know that everyone who is to get today on the panel have made an important shift also in the organizations. And that's what also the book is about. How can we also as leader, once reaching the top and on the way to the top, make that change? And moving to we talked about briefly in the beginning of the today's event. I shared more about invisibility and influence, and hard work is important, but also you need to make sure that your results are visible to important people in your career. And one of the strategies I share in the book is the personal brand formula, which goes: your personal brand is the sum of your authenticity and expertise multiplied by your visibility. And here's a question: which part of that formula, authenticity, expertise, or visibility, has been most important in your journey to building your personal brand? And feel free also to jump in whenever you hear something you want to continue so we have a more natural flow. Whoever wants to go first?
I think Elaine should take this one. Her visibility factor is amazing. Go, Elaine.
Everybody
Absolutely.
knows
Yeah.
Elaine.
I'll take it.
So you're really good at that. Yeah, go
You
ahead.
know, I love this formula because it's been proven that it works. For me personally, authenticity has to come first, especially for someone like me who didn't fit the traditional mold of being a tech leader. I remember having conversations with faculty members, for example, at the university, over the phone or email, and they would then see me in person and say, "Oh, you're Elaine," and I know what they meant by that. They didn't expect the person sending the email as the CIO to look or sound like me. So I think authenticity was a game changer for me. I had to work through the fear of being judged, especially because of my accent, Anna. When I first came to this country, I was 17 years old and I didn't speak English, and my accent was so strong that I used to hide. I used to not speak because I wanted to sound like everyone else and I wanted to look like everyone else. And so learning to embrace my whole story as an immigrant queer Latina really helped me not only find my voice, but my power, and the visibility then followed after that. So I think learning to own my story, my accent, my curly hair, my background, and also being a member of the LGBTQ community openly really became a turning point. And you start to see those as your superpowers once you make that change for yourself.
I really love that. Thank you for sharing this also with our audience today. So relatable.
I mean, thank you for sharing that because, I have curly hair too and I straighten my hair. Maybe both of us should have brought curly hairs to the panel today.
And I assimilated, I
Yeah.
experienced the same, and assimilating, I truly believe, did help a lot. And so staying authentic, is so important. It's being more accepted now because of the visibility on in your book. It really brings it to the forefront, the importance. One of my favorite quotes was from Chevron CEO John Watson, and what in his parting kind of thoughts to all of the employees before Mike Wirth took over was, one of the things that I would have done differently in my career would have been not to look for people who looked and were just like me. And he said it wasn't until the end of my career where there's this message of equality and equity and authenticity came forward that I realized how powerful it was in our meetings to take us to the next level. And he said it was just so comfortable having people who looked and act like me and who were from the same schools and didn't have curly hair. And so I really feel like it is coming to the forefront, the power of authenticity. You're starting to see data that shows how innovation improves with more authentic leadership. And so
Yeah, the authenticity builds so much trust with your team. If you're an authentic leader and you don't try to take a hierarchical position of, this authority and pretend like you work 24/7 and you're not a human being and you don't have a life outside of work, they don't trust you. And I wouldn't trust a leader like that either. So, to bringing yourself, being honest when you're having a bad day, when, everybody knows when the CIO is grumpy. that means vendors are in trouble. But it's always it's always, it builds so much more trust. And I didn't actually really learn a lot of that until COVID and everybody went home, and it got real, and you're seeing an insight into people's houses, and you got dogs barking and kids screaming, and that's when you're real, and that's when you have to kind of bond together, because you're not dressed up. Sometimes you see people with makeup. There's a go live or an incident in the middle of the night, you're gonna see the real me. So it's that, I think that authenticity is incredibly valuable, and in working with big global teams, nobody looks the same. My teams are everywhere from the far reaches of Asia into Mexico and the South America and Africa and the Europe. And so we're just trying to get everybody, speaking the same slang sometimes when we're making jokes, but it makes a great cultural environment. So, and it does add so many different perspectives and great voices in the room.
When I look at your formula, I think all of the components are absolutely critical. I don't know about the math necessarily, but I'll tell you, for my career, I think I started with a focus around expertise. I someone who went and got a PhD, came into an R&D space, and for me, it was having confidence because I felt like I had some expertise to offer. I was working in an area that I knew deeply, and that was what kind of started me on a journey of starting to assert myself and take on some leadership. But over the course of the next few decades, I took on leadership roles in areas that are way outside my expertise. And for that, you've got to get more comfortable with the authenticity piece, because now I had to say, look, I'm not an expert at X, but we're in this together. And I am going to ask a lot of good questions. I'm going to surround myself with people who I can trust and who know more than I do about these things. I'm going to have their backs. I'm going to commit that I'm going to learn, and we will get to whatever that goal and that end game is. And so the authenticity piece became much more important. My willingness to sort of admit when I didn't have the answers, but also commit to the shared goal and the gaining the expertise, or enough expertise to be able to add value in areas that were far from what I had originally studied. And I say it would be much later in my career where I started to embrace the visibility, that it was something that I actually sought to engage others outside of my inner circle. It was during COVID that I started a blog, and I started to engage. It's so interesting, when we were isolated was actually the point where I started to build a more active network, and I started to connect with people all over the world. I had done so within my own team for many, many years, but I really valued having the dialogue and the engagement with people outside of that sort of inner circle. And I've gained so much from their perspective and get so much joy from that dialogue in the last several years.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, go ahead.
Did you want to move to another question or add?
No, I was wondering about Deborah, also her perspective on the authenticity, expertise, and visibility. Personally.
Well, I agree that the authenticity is the primary focus throughout your career, but in the C-suite, that's when visibility becomes really important. And Catherine, you spoke really well to the external visibility, but the internal visibility, having a regular cadence where you're available and able to communicate to the constituents of your team as well as to your team in an authentic way, helps to reinforce the culture that you're building. It helps to reinforce the goals and the strategies and the why we are here. And I had a lot of staff that said, your quarterly addresses to the team, really, really helped us to understand that, yes, this is why we're here. And I could authentically bring what I knew was an alignment with the mission and the reason why we're here to the staff, and they really wanted to see me articulate our goals and our values and our strategy on a regular basis. And I wasn't necessarily that great at thinking of that and planning that, but I had a great staff who formed a committee and said, we're going to find out what the staff want to hear about, and we're going to bring that to you so that you know what they want to hear. And so then I would, it'd be on my calendar, quarterly, to get up and be in front of the staff and be visible and authentic and reassuring and provide that feedback. And yeah, so that was really, really important, but authenticity is through it all.
Thank you. Love that. And moving to another important also component on pretty much everyone's career, and no one really can make it without this group of people. And I'm talking about mentors, sponsors, and allies. So the Chief in Tech book outlines how women can cultivate relationships with mentors, sponsors, and allies. Can you share a moment where a mentor or sponsor, perhaps also an ally, or even a combination of these people, made a game-changing difference in your career? Elaine.
Yes, awesome. And this is my favorite topic, and the reason why I decided to do a TEDx talk on mentorship, it was in a way to honor one of my mentors and the difference that he made in my life. Mentorship and sponsorship actually really changed a lot for me. One of the things that I share in the book is my reflection on one of my mentors saying, Elaine, fear is always going to be there. And if you try to make sure that it goes away, you're going to be in a constant fight. So keep the fear with you and do it anyway. And that's actually how I end my TEDx talk. And so I learned how to make friend with fear and know that if I feel that feeling, which is all it is, it's a feeling, it actually demonstrates that I really care about that thing that I'm about to do. And so it served as a guidepost for me over the years. I would also add that male allies in my life have also played a key role in my journey. I know that there were a lot of moments when they spoke on my behalf, and they were having access to rooms that I didn't have access to. And so that really helped me regain my confidence. And so that kind of support made a lot of difference, because no one rises alone. I rely on all of you, all of the amazing women on this panel, and also men who are ready to help. And I feel like it's time that we continue to bring them into the conversation, because we're not going to get that far alone. We need allies, we need helps, we need mentors, we need sponsors. And so I welcome them all. And that's one of the reasons I founded 5X Minority, to continue that conversation and help others the same way my mentors have helped me.
I love it. Paying it forward. Love it.
I had the best I had the best advice given to me by another ally and mentor. He was so clear when I was kind of unhappy in some of the bigger corporate roles that I was in. It was getting just painful every day. And he gave me the best advice. He said, you attract what you describe the most. Like, when you are looking for a new car and you pick a model and you start seeing it everywhere, that was the kind of the example. But he said, you need to be very specific in the role that you want and exactly what your dreams are. And not just, I want to be in this title or I want to be in this kind of company. It was so specific. He gave me the most brilliant list of everything that would be my dream job, and to be really specific and describe that. And I have to say, like, my transition from, the US based aerospace and defense into, I'm an industrial engineer, so industrial companies are my thing. But this was exactly my dream job. The last year has been chaotic and fabulous, and I'm now like happier than I've ever been. I have the best company with a great culture. I've got the best CEO that I work for directly, and so supportive. The company is really strong in promoting women. Our chairman of the board is a woman, and she is who I want to be when I grow up. She's Baroness Rona Fairhead, is phenomenal. And it's just so specific in that advice that he gave me to attract and describe what I really want to attract in my life for my role and for my career was the best advice I've ever given. That was transformative. And it was actually just recently in my later part of my career, but that's a really good one. So anybody looking for a change, describe and be very specific with what your ambitions are.
I really love that. Describe, because it actually will come true, right?
Never know.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes we just get caught up in the things we don't like, but it's so difficult to describe what is that you actually want and the way you want, and dream big and don't have boundaries, right? Any restrictions in a way. I'm really happy for you that you shared that, and congrats to you, all your leadership team, including yourself, for actually driving that change. Grace?
Yeah, I just want to again echo Janet. Now I know, Janet, why we're on this.
Did we lose her? She was.
Yeah, I think Grace was just speaking when we lost her.
We lost her audio. Sorry.
Grace.
We'll in until Grace gets back, perhaps. So Janet shared a recent example. I'm going to go back to early in my career. I credit someone who became a mentor with me actually joining the company that I stayed at for 24 years. I was interviewing, just had finished my PhD and was in the process of interviewing for different jobs, early, young, very early in my career, trying to figure out where I belonged and what I wanted to do. And during the rigorous interview process, I met with lots and lots of people, and one of all of the people I met, one was a woman, and she stood out to me as somebody who was very personable, and I enjoyed talking to her. And she was, of all the people I met, the only one who reached out to me afterwards and sent me fairly innocent email. I mean, not, you think, oh, no big deal in retrospect, but it was such a big deal. She said, I think you would fit in really well here. I think it would be a good match. And it's like a nothing, right? She just shot off a quick email. But I ended up taking that job and spending my 2.5 decades of my career at this company. And I credit her. And when I came, I looked her up and I said, would you be my mentor? And I followed her in her career path. But it's just those little things. Sometimes you don't realize how those little things, that email that you respond to, the quick conversation you have after a meeting, the feedback, the pat on the back, this could have gone better. You don't realize how influential you can be. And so I do credit her with getting me started on my career.
I really love that. Thanks for sharing. I think that sometimes we forget how much power our words can hold, and even that simple message from on our end, simple, but right, like for you, it was a huge game changer. Thanks for sharing that. I think we should be more kind and say things that we think, but of course, in a kind way, and especially when someone needs a word of encouragement, I think that can make all the difference. Rital?
I actually have two things I want to share. One was the first time I was on a leadership team. And one of my strongest muscles is to advocate for people. And my leader at the time, after one more leadership team meeting, kind of called me aside and said, in our one-on-one discussions, you actually talk about technology, you talk about strategic insights, but in the meeting with your peers and with your leaders, you often talk only about the people. And very soon, people are going to tune you out and start saying, there she goes again, talking about just the people aspects of things. And he said, mix it up, like you have the brain, use it. And that was very insightful, even to kind of start thinking about how to position a thought process and, be part of the discussion and bring varied perspectives. And he did it in time, right? Like immediately after a session. So it resonated like, oh, I had these other thoughts. I could have said it. And so that really resonated. The other time was I was in between roles, ready to make a change. And somebody had connected me to the senior leader in commercial. And I literally just went to get coffee with her. And she was, chatting as a friend. She didn't really have an opportunity. I gave her my resume and said, I'm kind of thinking about stuff. And she said to me, why haven't you walked to the VP's office for R&D and said to him, this is my resume, make this job happen, this is what I want. And I said to her, I'm an introvert. That's never happening in my life. What are you talking about? But in that conversation with her, she said, how do you know they know what you want? Have you been explicit? And I actually left that coffee with her and had conversations with my leader, with my VP, and completely things changed. And so even though I thought I had been articulating my career ambitions, I really had not been. I had not had the specific conversation. And so I also would encourage people to kind of not have these stories in our head where you think everybody lives in your head, which I do often. But those were really two good instances.
Thank you for sharing this. Very powerful. Deborah.
Well, I congratulate you on having wonderful mentors. I really didn't feel like I had a lot of mentors. I'm an electrical engineer. I was kind of an oddity for my whole career. And I turned it around and became a mentor in 3 different women's mentoring or initiatives, and really got better and better at mentoring and really paying it forward in a way that I wished I had had myself. So that I wish I had had more mentors, but I probably wouldn't have been quite so intent on really becoming a good mentor if I had. I mean, maybe I would have, but it was something that was really rewarding to be able to help people to identify what they wanted and to help them understand how to gain the skills, experience, or whatever they needed to be able to get what they wanted, to go for it and to get the promotion or get the job, and just to be on that journey with people and their pursuit of success. So
Thanks for sharing that. And to wrap up this panel, we probably can talk for hours. I think all your journeys, and you have so much wisdom to share. And I was able to just put so little in the book, and I think we will have more events, more conversations. And one important thing that I want to discuss today as part of the panel, and that's definitely everyone of you who managed to rise to the top, became very resilient. Resilience and leadership. In Chief in Tech, we discussed resilience as a leadership superpower. What is one challenge you faced that tested your resilience, and what helped you rise through it? Whoever feels ready, Deborah, you feel like you're ready.
We will always face obstacles, and the obstacles we face will change, but what remains the same is your ability to stay balanced and strong and have resolve and trust yourself, so that when these things come along, you're not knocked off your path. So I think it's really important to take stock of oneself and say, what do I need to do in order to be that strong, present leader who's balanced and can handle things being thrown on my plate unexpectedly without faltering. And so it's a practice, it's a muscle, it's something that you build, your stamina, your resilience. And it's not always easy to keep your emotions in check when you're put under stress. But it's really important to understand yourself and how to do that, so that you can remain that calm, confident, logical leader under stress. And then other people will mirror your behavior. So as a leader, if you get hysterical and break down and can't cope with what's being thrown at you, other people will panic. And that is not good. So as a leader, this is a muscle to build over time. I know the pandemic was a challenge for everyone. It was a big challenge for me. And I remember times when I thought, I don't know how I'm being this resilient, because I was in the middle of having COVID myself, and having, a crisis at work and putting in long hours. And I just realized that it's a good thing that I'm really healthy and really strong, and I know myself well, and I can get through this without really too many people even noticing that I was really sick. So, that was probably one of the biggest challenges that I had. But my strategy of being strong served me well.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, I can go next. One of the things that I share in the book and I mentioned earlier was being a woman in tech leadership with a strong accent really made people look at me in different ways. And one of the things that I had to do is I had to work twice as hard as everyone else around me so that I could be seen as competent, because I always also, on top of that, look younger than I am. And so there was ageism that was added on top of that. And I carried a lot of shame about my accent early on. One of the things that helped me go through that, and I'll share one of my favorite quotes, was changing the way I saw myself and reframing my story. My favorite quote is from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and it says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I noticed myself talking about myself as a poor immigrant Latina, which was not helping me. And I had to switch that to seeing myself as an amazing, powerful, badass Latina. And that shift in my head really changed the way I saw me, because I believe that we teach people how to treat us. And so to me, just resilience isn't just about surviving, but rewriting that narrative on our own terms. And that really changed everything for me.
I really, really love that. Thanks for sharing it. Janet.
Anytime I start to feel like I'm not resilient, I just remember everything is temporary, everything changes. Even the good times change. So
True.
you celebrate the good times, the hard times will go away, we'll get through it, and you just try to keep your head on that everything's going to change. It changes. That's just the nature of the path that we're on. And then I also remind my teams too that the freak out just wastes time and energy. Let's just figure out how to solve it. We have a what to fix list at our company. It's the famous WTF list, but what to fix. So we just added to the WTF list.
I think we need such a list. I love that.
For me, in various leadership roles, as we all have, you go through these trials and crises and challenges, and they happen frequently. And the more you survive it, more you get through it, I think you build your confidence that you're going to get through the next one too. And so it is a muscle. I believe, we get to the point where we say, okay, I haven't faced this exact situation before, but I faced other challenging situations, and you gain your confidence that you will get through and lead your team and be better off for it. So I do believe very much in the learning from incidents, so that you emerge stronger as long as you have that learning mindset. All this is to say, I didn't think of myself as a crisis expert, nor did I really want to be, but you develop that muscle. And so now I teach a class on crisis management in tech. And it wasn't something I intended. It wasn't an intentional, yes, I'm going to be an expert in this. But I imagine everybody here is an expert to some extent. You just don't realize that you are. And so what I try to do with my students is to help them think ahead before they're facing that first crisis. What can they do to be better prepared, to mitigate the risks, and then to be confident in leading through a situation? Sometimes it's inevitable. We can't always prevent.
Yeah, and I think, Anna, I'm going to add, you have a chapter, I think, in the book on a leader's routine, right? She talks about yoga, meditation. So I think about, each one of us has to take care of ourselves in terms of being ready for the next thing that happens, because that is a given. Like Janet said, things will happen. And I also, personally say to myself, my muscle that I want to build is learning how to get up after a fall, because that too will happen. There are mistakes you will make or things that don't work out the way you want in life. And the fall is a given, right? That you don't get a choice in life. But how to get up after a fall and start again, I think that's again a story you tell in your head about I can do hard things. And so I would say to everybody, nurture your soul. So when the hard time comes, you go warrior mode and you go, all right, let's go, right? Let's tango.
You really love that. Thanks so much for sharing with us, and thank you all for being part of this panel. I'm truly grateful for having the opportunity to share a glimpse of your wisdom, as I call it in the book. And there is so much that you are doing, so much that you have already done. Thank you for being role models, inspiration for our community, and please keep it up because we need more leaders like you. And thank you everyone who joined us. Thank you for all your activity in the chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to follow up on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions to me, feel free to drop them too. We ran out of time. As I mentioned, we can talk for hours and we'll do another round. We must. We have
And
so
thank
many
you,
topics
Anna.
to discuss.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you,
Congratulations.
Anna, so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I'm wishing you a great day. And please stay for the network. And now you can also go to networking area and connect with the participants. So I'm sure many of you will want to connect one-on-one. So let's do that. And thank you so much. We stay in touch. It's not our last panel. More to come.
Thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
It's been
seeing all of you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.